Hello and welcome to the LiveIQ in 5 minutes a day fraud detection and prevention video. My name's Christopher Richards, I'm the Subway account manager here at PX Tech, and the aim of this video is to guide you through a few easy wins where you can spend just 5 minutes in LiveIQ, identify areas of potential concern, and then step away with some actions that can have an immediate impact on your store trading and profitability. LiveIQ has lots and lots of data available to you that might be an indicator of potential fraud. Instead of spending a lot of time performing in-depth analysis, you should try and make use of what's already there and what's highlighted for you by LiveIQ. Today I'm going to go through 5 screens and talk about how each of them can be used to combat potential fraud in your stores. So the screens we're going to be looking at today are the daily sales screen, which can be used to highlight differences from your normal selling patterns. The store reading screen, which can be used to pick out areas of potential concern, particularly across multiple stores. The Drilldown sales screen, which lets you look in more detail at areas of concern that have been highlighted from the other screens. The employee dashboard, which lets you see if problems are concentrated in specific staff members or shifts. And the live alerts, which allow you to maintain operational control of your business when you're away from the store in the same way you would if you were there working alongside the other staff members. So now we're into LiveIQ, and before I go any further I'd like to point out that the screens we're going to be looking at are linked to a dummy database that's used for testing and quality control here at PX Tech. So if you see any figures that don't seem to make sense from the point of view of a trading store, that's because they've been manipulated for testing purposes and you shouldn't worry about it. So we're now on the daily sales screen. Here we can see differences from your normal selling patterns that might indicate something unusual happening in the store. So I'm going to talk about a few areas you can look for those differences and what they might mean if you identify them. The first place to look on the daily sales screen is the average transaction value under the sales breakdown heading right in the centre. A very common way to commit fraud is to enter only part of a transaction into the POS system. So a staff member might sell, for example, 2 footlongs, a drink and a cookie, and only enter the cookie into the POS system. The money for the cookie goes into the cash drawer and the rest of the money goes into that staff member's pocket. This will have an immediate impact on the average transaction as soon as it's done more than a few times. So it's important as a franchisee to understand what that average transaction value will normally look like so that you can identify a discrepancy as soon as it starts to occur. When that value starts to drop, you can immediately take action and make sure that you deal with anything untoward happening in the store before it begins to have a direct impact on your store's profitability. The next place to look on the daily sales screen is the adjustments table, but I'm going to talk about adjustments in more detail in a few minutes when we look at the store reading screen. So for now I'd like to move to the daily sales discount analysis, which we can see here. The discount analysis table quite simply shows you the discounts and promotions that have been used in your store down the left hand side and the quantity, the number of times each discount has been used, down the right hand side. A couple of things we're looking for here. The first is for discounts to be overused. For example, an employee meal deal to be used 10 times on a day when you know you only have 5 members of staff working. And secondly, we're looking for discounts that shouldn't exist in the store at all. For example, free footlongs, 100% discounts against a total order, that kind of thing. A lot of staff members don't seem to realise that giving discounts to people who aren't entitled to them is an act of fraud, and it's more common than you might think. So it's important to keep an eye on the discount analysis table, see what discounts and promotions are being put through the till in your store, and if they start to be used improperly, immediately act so the staff understand it is unacceptable and you can stamp it out before it becomes a real problem that's going to affect the profitability of your store on a long-term basis. The final area to look at on the daily sales screen is the sandwich analysis over on the right hand side. Once again, you'll get the most benefit from knowing what is normal in your store so you can spot anomalies, but what you're looking for here is a low value sandwich such as a Veggie Delight moving up to the top of this list. Another way a staff member can commit fraud is to take payment for a steak and cheese sub, for example, but only enter a Veggie Delight into the POS. Then the difference between the two sale prices is stolen. It's important to keep an eye on this because of course your bread count will still be correct at the end of the day, so you won't have that discrepancy on the inventory to alert you to a problem. So that's it for the daily sales screen. To reiterate, the most important thing here is to learn the range these figures will normally be in for your store, so you can spot anomalies when they occur and to understand what behaviour these anomalies are indicative of, so you can take appropriate action to investigate. Now, if you own multiple stores, it can be time consuming to review this page in detail for each of them, so it's better to be able to just see a summary of the most important information all in one place. And for that, we need to move to the second of our 5 screens, the store reading screen. So now we're onto the store reading screen, which is great for multi-unit owners to review a large number of stores all at once in the same place. This screen shows units, productivity and sales figures for today and yesterday by default, and it also shows you the data for a 6-week average, which really highlights those anomalies and discrepancies we talked about previously. What we're looking for here is a big drop off in units, which might indicate sales not being run through the POS correctly, as we talked about on the daily sales screen, and a very high number of adjustments. Now, an adjustment is anything that involves a sale other than just ringing it through the POS as a normal transaction. So for example, a price override, entering an item and backing it out again, or a no sale, which is where the cash drawer is opened without a transaction taking place. All of these can be potential indicators of fraud, normally involving the staff member taking money from the customer and not entering it into the POS correctly, as we've already talked about. So now we're starting to get into an area where you can investigate more closely those things that might be going on in the store. Now, it's important to note at this point that on any screen of LiveIQ where you see something underlined, you can click on it to be taken to a page showing more information on the thing you've clicked on. So looking at this screen, some of these sales adjustments look a little high. If this was real data and I was the franchisee for the stores in question, I would have a concern. So I'm going to click on one of these numbers and LiveIQ will automatically take me to a page that shows more detail about the thing I'm clicking on. Clicking on that figure has taken us to the third of the 5 screens we're going to look at today, the Store Sales Drilldown screen. This screen allows you to search your transaction history by pretty much any detail, staff member name, sales adjustments, product type, discount code, but as you can see here, LiveIQ has automatically searched the history to provide information on adjustments, because that's what we clicked on in the store reading screen. So what we've got here down the left hand side is a list of all the transactions for the day in question that involve an adjustment of any type, and over on the right hand side we've got a copy of the receipt data from the POS, so we can start to get a detailed view of what's happening in the store. With this data we can start to identify patterns and trends and see if the anomalies we've identified are indicative of a wider problem. Important to note here is the Show Surveillance button at the top of the list. If you're using the subway surveillance system, or either a GeoVision or a PX Vision CCTV system from PX Tech, you can click this button and LiveIQ will automatically show you the CCTV footage related to the transaction you're currently looking at. This is a great fraud prevention tool, as it allows you to quickly and easily take a look at the circumstances involving a suspicious transaction without needing to spend time trawling through surveillance logs to find the right piece of footage. Now, as I said previously, this is a dummy database used for testing, so I can't load any footage here directly. But what I am going to do is show you a short clip taken from a trading store where this functionality was used to catch a staff member committing fraud in one of the ways we've been talking about. So here's the video clip. This store's running a piece of software from PX Tech called XPOS Tracker that prints the results of the transaction across the CCTV footage. So in just a moment we'll be able to see exactly what the staff member has done. You can see now she's asked the customer would she like a receipt, the customer said no, and the staff member's entering the transaction into the POS now, and we can see there that she's entered a price override for every one of those subs. So she put the money into the till at the point of sale, she remembered how much she'd done a price override for throughout the day, and at the end of the day when she was cashing up, that money came back out of the till and into her pocket. This had been going on for several months, and it's estimated the staff member had stolen more than £2,000 via this method. As soon as this functionality was introduced into the store just to test it out, this was identified within just a few days and dealt with very, very quickly and easily once this was made available to the franchisee. So going back to the store sales drill down screen, It is possible to click through each of these transactions and try and work out exactly what's gone on. So here, for example, we have a bottled drink that was removed and replaced with a coffee. So it might just be the staff members pressed the wrong button. To choose another one here. The same again, a breakfast sausage sub was entered and then replaced with a bacon and egg. So it looks like the staff members just made a mistake. So although this screen is very useful for investigating when you already have a suspicion and you want to track the actions of a particular staff member or how a particular discount button is being used, it's not great for a more wide-scale investigation. There's just too much information there. So what we need to do is go to another screen that gives us a good summary of activity in the store. So what we're going to do now is move to the fourth of our 5 screens in this video. My own personal favourite screen in the whole of LiveIQ, which is the employee dashboard. So we're now on the employee dashboard, which gives a high-level analysis of the actions of individual staff members. This screen gives data averaged over a 4-week period, which irons out any discrepancies where someone might have just been having a bad day and allows you to see if there is a sustained problem over a prolonged period of time. Just going to give a quick description of what we can see on the employee dashboard. Starting over on the left hand side, we have the productivity and factor with the store average at the top and then the figures relating to the periods each staff member was working listed down the page. Moving across, we have the hours worked and the name of the staff member in question, and then the bits we're interested in from a fraud identification perspective: the units, the number of rings or transactions that each staff member has put through the POS, and the suspect ring percentage. Over on the right hand side of the screen we have the average transaction value for each member of staff. Also on this screen we can see the red and green highlights, which automatically show you instances of good and bad behaviour in your store. There are several places on this screen where we can look at some of the potential fraud indicators we've already talked about, but this time linked to specific staff members. As we've already discussed, a low average transaction or low unit sales can indicate that sales are not being run through the till correctly, as in the video clip that we've just seen. The really interesting figure to look at on this screen, however, is the suspect ring percentage. This figure shows us the percentage of transactions made by a specific individual that have involved a correction of some kind, so a price override, an item correction, and so on. Now it's important to remember that although these corrections can be a great indicator of fraud taking place, it's not always the case. There are entirely legitimate reasons for corrections to be made, such as the staff member just made a mistake, or a discount button is missing from the till, so they're having to do a price override to honour a particular promotion, and so on. But looking at the first figure in the list there, we can see that 25% of over 1,600 transactions have involved a correction of one kind or another. So that means that in this 4-week period, more than 400 customers have had to wait while the staff member makes an amendment to the transaction that they've entered into the POS. Now, even if it's not fraud, that's a bad customer experience that slows the line down, causes the queue to get longer, and can mean that people are walking away because they can see the store is crowded. So it's very important to investigate these high numbers and take action to bring them down. One more key point on the employee dashboard: once you've done some investigation and you don't think it is fraudulent behaviour, there's no reason not to share these figures with your staff. You can ask them to explain why the numbers are so high, agree targets to reduce them, and encourage them to propose their own solutions, which will get them invested in increasing the overall productivity and profitability of the store. Now we're on to the final screen we're going to be looking at today, the live alerts. Live alerts let you set tolerances for behaviour in your stores, and LiveIQ will send you a message to let you know when these tolerances are exceeded. As we can see here, these cover things like adjustments, variances on the cash counts and bread counts, and the amount of cash-ins that have taken place in a single day. So using adjustments as the example, I'm going to set this to allow a single price override every 4 hours with a maximum value of £1. That means that if more than one price override is done in any single 4-hour period, or if a single price override is done with a value of more than £1, an alert will be generated and sent to me automatically to let me know what's happening in the store. The alert gives details of the time and content of the transaction, as well as the details of the staff member who put it through the till. The benefits of the live alerts in preventing fraud is that there is no delay between the action and the investigation. As soon as the alert is received, you can call the store and ask, why did you do that price override? Why is the bread count short? This means that the staff member responsible has no opportunity to forget the details and no opportunity to blame someone else, and will be required to give you an explanation of exactly what's gone on to cause the action that you're not happy about. This means that you'll identify and resolve the specific issue in question, but also it will deliver the message back to the store staff that you are keeping an eye on these kind of behaviours and you will investigate them. So the next time someone is thinking of doing something that they shouldn't, chances are that they will think again. Another point on this page, you may not have time to be looking at all the stores yourself, so it is possible to set the alerts to be delivered to a supervisor or a manager with a daily digest delivered to you as the franchisee. This daily digest shows all the details of the alerts that have been sent and who it was sent to. This allows you to review the alerts that have been generated with your manager and ask for details of a specific event and what action the manager took to resolve it. This gives you the confidence that the manager is going to be controlling operations in the store in the same way you would if you were able to be in the store 24 hours a day. So that brings us just about to the end of this presentation. I hope that it's proved of interest and there'll be at least one or two things there that you can take away and make use of in your own stores. As a reminder, the 5 screens we've looked at are the daily sales screen, which gives an overview of today's trade and allows you to spot unusual sales patterns. The store reading screen, which lets you pick out areas of concern over multiple stores. The Drilldown sales screen, which lets you look more deeply into those areas of concern that you've identified. The employee dashboard, where you can discover if inappropriate behaviour is concentrated in specific staff members. And the live alerts, which let you maintain that same operational control even when you aren't able to be in the store yourself. Don't forget, it's important that you don't get buried in LiveIQ. Spend just a few minutes reviewing the screens we've talked about and then step away with some real actions you can take in your stores. By using the functionality we've discussed today and letting your staff know that potential fraud is being investigated, not only can you uncover fraud that may be happening, but you can reduce the likelihood that anyone else will make an attempt at theft in the future. Remember that it's always better to discourage staff from committing the fraud in the first place than it is to find it and then having to deal with it. That brings us to the end of this video. If you have any questions or feedback, or if you'd like to suggest other topics that you'd like to see us cover in the future, please get in touch by emailing info@pxtech.net.